Was that before you met him?
Yeah, this was taken, I don't know how old he was. This is Grandpa, when he had lots of hair. And this is Grandpa when he's in the Marine Corps.
Wow, good looking guy. No wonder you liked him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sure stern though, boy.
Yeah.
You can tell by his face, he's no nonsense man, can't you?
That's right. Well, let's switch tapes here.
Mako, and this is Barbara, and this is Joy. And then this is a school picture. They were standing outside, out in our front yard, waiting for the bus to come. All the children.
Yeah. Yeah, what was you said about my mom's hand in this picture here?
What?
In that picture with all the school kids, my
Yeah.
mom's hand?
And she always had to hold some little baby or something. She was so crazy about Carol after Carol was born. She'd come in from school after night, and I said, now don't wake the baby, she's asleep. And sure enough, your mother would walk in there and touch her. Well, she woke up, Mom, she said. She'd touch her eyes or something to get her to wake up. And Aunt Lorraine here. No, I'm holding Carol here in this picture, the school picture. And here Joy is holding, I think it's LaWanna Green by the hand. She always likes to hold someone's hand.
Oh, that's a cute picture.
Yeah.
And let's see the girls' hair. You were talking about how you wish you had little girls again. Look at their hair in the other picture.
Yeah. And Barbara's is curly, real nice and curly, and her Joy's is in pigtails.
So
with little ribbons tied on them.
So you did their hair a lot, huh?
Yeah,
days?
and I made their dresses. I always made their clothes.
Yeah, my mom was telling me about how you used to make Easter dresses for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you didn't used to use patterns?
No.
Now, how did you accomplish that?
Well, I just looked at a dress and kind of measured with what they wore, and I'd cut it a little bigger so that it would fit,
Uh-huh.
and it worked out just fine.
And she said you one time made some pleated skirts and some...
and blouses.
Uh-huh.
I know Grandpa came down, my father came down for Thanksgiving
Uh-huh.
one year, and I had the girls in those white satin blouses and their pleated skirts. I embroidered on the belt of their pleated skirts. And, oh, he says, Cemoria, you sure dress your children beautiful, he said. Mom always made our clothes too. The teacher, when we went to school, the teacher said, your Lindy children are the best dressed in school, because she always, made up the patterns. One time I had a red and pink and white check dress,
Mm-hmm.
and out of material like yours, and then she had put 3 little collars on it, one here and one here and one here, and then she had piped them in white piping, what do you call that?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was sure a pretty dress. And she told me that, I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, that you Lindy children dress so nicely. And I said, well, Mother made it. Oh, she did? She said, that was unusual for the mothers to make their dresses.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, now, my mom said you used to come up with some beautiful dresses and outfits for them.
Yeah.
And you just would think them up, or you would see something?
No, I'd go downtown and look at the children's dresses, and I'd come home with that in my mind, what to make. Even Lily Lewis asked me something one time. She said, Cemoria, where do you get your patterns for your children's dresses? I told her I just go downtown and look at them and come home and make them.
Wow, what
So
a
that was
talent.
kind of a gift I had, I guess, because my grandmother, Mama's mother, was a seamstress, a tailor, made tailor clothes and everything, and then Mama sewed a lot. I don't remember if Rita sewed or not, but
Did your mom teach you how to sew?
yeah. In fact, she couldn't treadle a machine. We had a treadle machine, Singer treadle machine, and she didn't have the strength in her legs to treadle all day long, so when she was sewing, I'd have to sit alongside her and treadle a machine. And I watched what she did, and I could see what to do.
Did your other sisters learn how to sew as well as you did, or was this just your particular
Yeah,
thing?
Rang did, but I don't know about Sig. Sig used to crochet a lot. She was a real good crocheter. And she used to crochet. I don't know if she made that little dress for Marilyn or not in there that she's got on. She might have, because I remember when they came over one time from Port Angeles, Marilyn didn't have a coat, so I happened to have some extra material, and I whipped her up a coat that night so we could go to Bellingham the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, I was real fast when I was younger.
Is this the picture of
Yeah,
Marilyn
that's
here?
Marilyn, uh-huh.
That's the picture
And
of Marilyn.
and for me doing that, I don't know, she might have made this little dress. It
Let me
looks like
find
it.
that picture of your sister Sig here,
Yeah.
and we can show them together.
And for me making that little coat and doing some other sewing for her, she crocheted all my little girls each a dress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they look so pretty. I don't know what happened to those crocheted dresses.
Now, how did you learn how to crochet? Did your mom crochet too?
Yeah, Mama taught me how to crochet. She never knit, but she did a lot of crocheting.
Now, I just found a picture here of the bow hunks.
Is it a
In
bow
this
hunk?
album, yeah, there's the bow hunks in here. I'm gonna show this on camera here. I'm trying to find that picture of your sister Sig, where she's.
So this is Marilyn here.
Yeah, let me find the picture of her mom.
Oh,
Remember-
so yeah, she's in there.
She had her hair Marcel, didn't she, in that picture?
Yeah, she's a profile.
Now we won't be able to find it just because we're looking for it, right?
Yeah.
Boy, there's some wild-looking people in this album here. There's you and your nightie. Oh, I can't find it right now.
Oh, give it to me, baby. Maybe I can find it.
Okay, you want to go ahead and show that picture of your sister Sig? What did
Yes,
your
ma'am.
Aunt Cemoria say about her?
I hope my daughter grows up to be as pretty as Aunt Sigrid, is. Then there was me, the ugly duckling.
Oh, sure.
This is Marilyn. This is my sister Sigrid,
Uh-huh.
and this is her daughter Marilyn.
Beautiful. You want to show that picture of the bow hunks?
Yeah, if I can find it. Oh,
I
here's
put it
the
right
bow-
there on the top.
Yeah. This organization I told you about, the Bohunks, Enos used to go with us up there too, and the Peterson girls used to go up. And I'm pretending to play the guitar. I never played a tune in my life, but my sister Sigrid did. Mama played the guitar a lot. And Fritz didn't play the violin, but he's pretending here that he's playing the violin. And this is Helgi, and this is Sigrid's boyfriend. She was never without a boyfriend. And this is Olga and Clara Peterson and Enos. And I don't know who that little runt is.
You're going to have to turn around so I can see it now.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's you.
That must be Iris Jeline.
There's the bow hunks.
Yeah. Because we went out and took this picture when a lot of people were around. And
That's a cute picture.
mhm.
What's that other picture? There's another small picture there.
Oh, this is, yeah, this is Ruby Brown, and Enos, my cousin Enos, and this is me. We were down at Birch Bay. Someone slapped a picture of us.
It says patiently waiting at the bottom.
Yeah.
What were you waiting for, man?
I don't know. To go into water, I suppose. I loved this coat my mother bought me. I was about 15 or 16. And it was checked, red and white checked, and it had a fur collar on it. And I wore it constantly. I thought I was so dressed up in it because the first button coat I'd ever had. And this is Sigrid and me. We were standing out in front of our picket fence and in front of our house. Mama made all of our dresses. See how she made that, those ruffles in the front of our dresses? We were always really nicely dressed. How she had all that time, I don't know. She even made the boys' overalls.
Wow.
And this this is our family when the children were small. I think Carol was about 3 and Lorraine was 12 and Barbara was 10. And your mother was about 7 and Sonny was 5 and no, 8 or 9. Your mother was about 8 or 9 and Carol was 3 and Sonny was between them. He was about 5 or 6. The photographer came to the house and took this picture.
So now those curtains in the background are yours? Then,
Yeah.
Where was the picture taken? Right here
Yeah,
at
it was
this
in
window?
our living room.
Right here at this window?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, we had only 2 rooms when this was taken.
So it was taken probably right here?
Yeah. No, we had 4. We had the bedroom that Daddy built on one.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I made these dresses.
You made each of their dresses? How about Sonny's outfit? Did you make that?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to make out of material or one time Daddy had an old suit and he wasn't wearing it longer, so I made him a suit out of his suit. And this is Aunt Barbara when she was a little girl. I don't know how old she was there. She still had her own baby teeth.
Uh-huh. Did you make that little coat?
Yeah. And her little dress and blouse. And when her baby teeth came out, she didn't think she was ever going to get any front teeth. She had empty space there for about 2 years. Said, aren't I ever going to get any front teeth? And she did. She finally got them. Very pretty teeth. And this is Joy. This is your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And her graduation picture. And this is the big picture of Joy when she graduated. She didn't like these pictures at all. I liked the ones that she smiled, but I liked this one real well.
Uh-huh.
And this is Son and Carol when they were babies. When Carol was a baby. She was about a year old there. We went to a photographer and he took the picture.
Did you make that sweater his son's wearing?
No, I bought them a sweater. I made that Carol's little dress though. See what a cute little dress it is. I didn't appreciate how pretty they were until I get older and think what a lot of work I did on them.
Oh,
It
yes.
had little buttons down the front, that ruffle and everything. And this is Son. He was in high school when this picture was taken. And this is Son's graduation picture. And all the girls were crazy about him. In fact, I was in the temple about 2 or 3 years ago, and this, I can't remember her name. Did you remember had a big crush on your son? I said, no, I didn't know. That's what I'm telling you now. There were about 4 or 5 girls that had a crush on him. He was real handsome. This is Carol. I don't know how old she is there. Looks like she might have been in the 1st grade or so. And this is Carol when she grew up. She's about 16 here. And Barbara and your mother took a trip to San Francisco one time. They drove our old car down. And this is the lady they were eating lunch. She was sitting at a table eating lunch, and so they sat down beside her because there wasn't any more room. You know, the tables were all crowded.
Uh-huh.
And this is Barbara and this is your mother in San Francisco. They were coming home the next day, and I worried all night. Our oldest soda, we brought it from Uncle Fred's, and I worried all night that they wouldn't get here. Sure enough, the next morning they were here bright and early.
What a relief, huh?
Yeah. And this is Lorraine. I made that dress for her. That's her first formal dress when she was 12.
Is the bodice of velvet?
But, yeah, the top is velvet and the bottom is kind of a sheer. It's lined with something. I can see it's sheer down here. And then Marilyn came over and she wanted a dress, so I made her one too, because they went to the same formal. And
Marilyn, her friend?
Marilyn, my niece, Sig's girl.
Sig's girl. Uh-huh.
They used to come over quite a bit from Port Angeles. and the girls went to the dance. It was a formal dance, a Golden Green Ball, and they were both sitting like this.
Do that again, Grandma?
Yeah, my sister said, "My,
what were they doing with their legs? I didn't catch
They were
it.
sitting like this." My sister said they should be in pants instead of dresses. See, they've been used to being tomboys, you know, and not being ladies. And I'll never forget that when Sig said they should be in pants.
Did you want me to take all these pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the wedding dresses you had to make for all your girls. First of all, tell me about each of the girls growing up, what you thought about their boyfriends they were bringing home.
Well, some of them I liked and some of them I didn't. Now, you know, Barbara was the first one to bring Bruce home. Now, she'd gone with a lot of fellas, but she didn't like him, and we didn't care for him either. And he came in, and he made himself right at home, sat down on the floor, and pretty soon after, about a month or so afterwards, we heard they were engaged. And we were kind of excited. They went to Logan and were married in the Logan Temple. And I think, was your mother next, or who was next?
I think
Well, I
she
think
was.
Sonny was next to
Was
get
he?
married. He was only 22. I thought he was awful young to get married, but he wasn't through school, neither was Kathleen. They still had 2 years of school left. So they were married in February the 14th, I think. And we liked Kathleen real well. She was a real nice girl. And then your mother was next. I think it was the next year. Your mother, after going with your dad for 5 years, they finally got married.
Were you wondering if they would ever get married?
Well, I kind of figured they would, because the last time your dad came over to see her, he was in the Army. And he'd been over Bremerton, I guess, spending some time with his mother. He came over one Sunday night and knocked at the door, and I thought, we had a bunch of company here, and I thought, who on earth is that? There was Bob standing there with his Army uniform on and his Army overcoat. I said, well, hi, Bob, come on in. I had known him for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he came in and he sat down. He didn't say what he wanted or anything. He just came in and sat down pretty soon. I guess he must have motioned to Joy come outside because he wanted to talk to her. So they went outside and talked for a while, and I don't know what happened. But he used to call her, and she used to call him, and they'd write to each other, and I never did see any letters that he wrote. And I didn't see what she wrote either, so I didn't know anything about her.
Gee, you didn't read your daughter's mail?
No.
You must have lived a really boring life, Grandma.
I did. And she had a lot of boys. She had a lot of boyfriends, your mother did, that, you know, liked her real well. This Dean Bushman, he used to come in, take her to church, just come to the door and ask her if he could take her to church. He never called her anything. And one night he did that, and she wouldn't go home with him because she didn't want to go to church with him. She thought he should have more respect to call her, you know, if he wanted to. And so she came home with a Peterson boy that night.
Jane?
And then Carol. But I wasn't too crazy about Brian. The first night he came to take her out, it was raining, and he had a great big old black umbrella. And he came to the door, and he says, "Is Carol here?" "Yeah." It was on a New Year's Eve. And he just bowed, and he bowed to me, and I thought, what's wrong with him? But I guess he was probably as nervous as I was, probably. But he came in, he handed me his camera. He said, "Take a picture of us in front of the Christmas tree." Our Christmas tree was over in the corner, so I took a picture of him and Carol standing there. And Carol had an awful cold that night, and she lost her lace handkerchief that I'd made her. I made her some lace handkerchiefs, you know, lace on the outside. And she lost one there when they were, I think he must have had a car, or he had a taxi. I don't know how he came, but anyway, went to this dance, and she lost her hanky in the car. So he called up the next day, and she was sick in bed. And she said, tell him I don't want to talk to him. I said, you get up here and tell him your own lies. I'm not going to lie for you. So she got up. She finally went out with him. I don't think that night, though, but a couple of days later she went out with him again. He pursued her quite hard. He was after Carol. In fact, he told President Kay, they met President Kay downtown one time. Brian was working at Frederick and Nelson's, and President Kay and he was eating in the same at the same lunch counter. And he says, "Well, I'm going with that Frankman girl," he says, "and I'm going to marry her," he told President Kay. Anyway.
Talk about pursuing your goals, huh?
Yeah.
Brian's a good example, showing you to pursue your goals, and you'll eventually attain them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, did you make each of the girls' wedding dresses?
All four of them. Yeah, Barbara's was hardest to make. She had seen one at Frederick and Nelson's that was beautiful. It was $350, and we could no way afford to put that much money in a wedding dress. So I made her one, and we had the tulle pleated, because she wanted pleated tulle, 2 rows of pleated tulle in the back instead of a train. She didn't want a train, but I made it long anyway, quite long, and she had a very pretty dress. It cost us about $175 to make, because we had to take that material up and have it pleated in someplace uptown where they did it. And then after she got married, she took it to Montana with her, and that's one of those girls wanted to borrow it, so she loaned it to her, and she never got it back. Barbara said, well, she tore it, and then she never gave it back to her, so she didn't get to keep it. And then your mother's, I made hers real nice. Kathleen, or Alice Crook made Kathleen's dress too, real pretty. And then I made your mother's. That was just kind of a short, not short, but a long dress, and it had little cut out flowers all over it. I sewed those in. It took me 2 weeks to sew those, and my fingers were so sore after sewing, all those little stitches.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had a boat neckline, just a plain one, but the skirt was real pretty. She had that lace on it. And then Lorraine's was just a plain white. She didn't want any falderall. She just a plain white dress, satin dress. And I can't remember what Carol's looked like. I'll have to ask Carol what her wedding dress looked like. I can't remember.
And did you sew other people's wedding dresses?
I sewed one for 2DK. And they took it to the cleaners after she'd worn it, and the cleaner said he'd never seen such a beautiful wedding dress.
Wow.
It had a jacket on it, and a long train. And
didn't all the K girls, except for the last one, have to wear that wedding dress?
That's what Sister Kay said. That's what Una said. These girls are all going to have to wear this dress.
And did they?
Yeah, I imagine even the granddaughters probably wore it. Because when we went up to Rodabaugh, Joy told him that I had made Trudy's dress. Yeah, that dress got a lot of wear. It was still being used. He made a remark like they had used it too for their daughter when she got married. I can't remember just exactly what he said. I thought, well, I'll bet you his kid wore it too. It was a real nice dress. It was very well sewed.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Get all that wear out of it.
Yeah. Well, and they took good care of it,
That's neat. So, tell me about your different jobs that you had outside of the home.
Well, about the first job I ever had was, Mako was working in the pickle plant down there in Kent. And they needed an extra girl, and she said, well, my sister-in-law's a real good worker. Maybe she'd come down. So I thought, well, I'll come down for a couple of days, but not any longer than that, because Carol was only 12, and I didn't want to leave her home. Although Daddy was working nights again, so he was home until almost, but just before she got home from school. So, I worked down there 2 years, and then I got kind of sick. And
just a couple of days, huh?
Yeah, just a couple of days. Well, the money was good. I enjoyed the money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked long enough to get my Social Security. To get a Social Security check. You have to have I don't remember, so many weeks, in order to draw Social Security. And then I quit there for a while. Cease Nelson didn't like when I quit because he just, while I was there, they talked me into sewing his wife a maternity blouse. And it had, funny, she showed me one that she'd bought, and she couldn't find another one, so she wanted me to make her one. And it had a shawl collar on it, and it had an opening here so that she could pull the collar through, and it was quite a bit of work to it.
Mm-hmm.
And she had this blouse on down here in the bottom. And then after a while, when you draw unemployment, you have to go around and try to find a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept calling and going to Boeing's and different places and calling different places. And finally Boeing's called me to work. And I worked in the cafeteria there, making sandwiches for a long, long time. And then when they built the new building over in Renton, I was transferred and was dishing up food, making salads and dishing up food on the food line.
Uh-huh. Did you like that?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. And then when we sold the house, I thought, oh, I'm tired of working. I quit.
Yeah. Why not? And then, didn't you work at a fabric store?
Oh, yes, I did. I worked at a fabric store. After I worked at Boeing's, I worked at a fabric store. One day I went in and, I just love fabrics. I'd even like to work here, I said. So the next day they called me to work.
Oh. And how long did you work at the fabric store?
Until I got sick. I must have worked there a year and a half or so. And one day, I can't remember her name now, but she's a church member. And lots of times I'd close at night, and then someone else would open up the fabric store in the morning. And I'd have to take the money to the bank, count it all out and make a note of it and take it to the bank at 9, 10 o'clock at night. I was scared to death, but I did anyway. And then one morning she said, we're $10 short in the till. And I said, well, I can't help that. I said, I counted it all out. And she says, well, did you take it? I said, no, I didn't take it. And she says, I didn't either, but I bet you did anything she did because they were having hard times. It was Arlene Baker. She was a church member. I can't accuse her, but then I didn't.
You didn't take it, yeah.
I wouldn't take a penny. It was on the floor, I told her. And put it in the till.
Yeah. Now, when you were working there, did you see a lot of fabrics and basically spend your paycheck there?
I did. I spent most of my paycheck in fabric. And when I got through, I had so many fabrics I didn't know what to do. And most of it was polyester. And you kids wouldn't wear polyester slacks or things. You didn't like those polyester things. And so I don't know I guess I must have given it to the Goodwill or something or someone.
You still have drawers of fabric.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Carol, Lorraine wants to go through those drawers of fabrics, and I told her, help yourself whenever you want.
Yeah. That's the way I am too. I always go into fabric stores and buy a whole bunch of fabric because it looks so beautiful, and then I don't do much with it.
Yeah, that's me. I've got 2 or 3 pieces there. I've got dress pieces that I can make dresses out of. Maybe when the hand gets better, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And I've got a white piece of white skirt too. I'd like to make a white skirt if my hand gets better, so I can do it. I want a shape skirt. I don't want the real tight ones. I want the sort of an A-line skirt. I look better in those than I do in the real tight one.
Mm-hmm. Well, now tell me about your mission.
Oh my goodness, I thought it was about through. Well, Bishop called us on a mission. In fact, President Dance called us one time, but your mother was sick so much and was having kids all along. And so I thought, well, I'd better stay here and take care of those, take care of Joy and the children. And about 6 years later, Bishop Sumter called us on a mission. And So it took us about 6 months to just make up our mind if we should go or not. We decided, well, we'd been called twice, we better get going. So we did. And Daddy told him, well, if they'd rent our house, they were in the process of building up here, and they had given up their house that they were renting. And he says, if you live in our house, why we'll go ahead and go. And so they did. They moved into our house, and I had put a loaf of zucchini bread up in my freezer. Everything else was cleaned out, and I was going to take that with me, take it to Barbara's, because we were going to Barbara's that night, and I forgot it. And I didn't think about that zucchini bread till I got on our mission. I thought, well, I never did get that zucchini bread to Barbara. I imagine they ate it. And I know the night
they probably thought it was a housewarming gift or something.
I imagine, yeah. And the night we left, our car was, we put so much in the back seat, and the springs were so weak that we were sitting just about like this. And when we got to Sonny's, why they put double duty shock absorbers in it, so we rode very comfortably down to first we went to Utah and stayed there at 3 weeks at the MTC, and then they went to
now, didn't you see Barry at the MTC?
Barry was there. The senior citizen, always got to eat first. We'd have to get up at 5:30 in the morning and be down there for breakfast by 6. Otherwise, he said, there won't be anything left as those 2,000 elders came to eat, And they so lunch the same way, and we'd be sitting there eating, and Barry'd come in. Hi, Grandma and Grandpa, he says. One fellow sitting across from me, he says, I sure wished I had a grandson like that was down here like that, he said. And we told him we had 4 grandsons. 3 had already been on the missions. This is the 3rd one that was going on the mission. Yeah. And anyway, we went to the temple once a week. We were privileged to do that. And we didn't hardly ever go downtown. We just stayed around the MTC. We went downtown, I think, once to the bookstore was all. They had a bookstore right there at the MTC.
What did you think when you got your mission call?
Oh, we were thrilled to death. Really, the President Spencer W. Kimball signed it and asked us to go to Kentucky. And we thought Kentucky, where all the dark people, black people are, but we didn't see very many black people down there. The young elders that worked with us, he was his own leader, and he said, "Don't go in that area. Us elders will take care of the black area," because they were quite boisterous, and the young people were kind of like they are here, kind of showy off. And I know one time we drove through there, and they were all standing at a tavern or something. They started yelling at us, and they knew who we were, So we drove there through there again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what did you do on your mission?
Well, our mission president told us to. They had a beautiful mission home there, and it was in Louisville, Kentucky. They say, don't call it Louisville like we used to call it Louisville. They said it's Louisville, so we tried to call it Louisville. And he wanted us to reactivate the inactives. There were a lot of them in the wards, the branches. Mm-hmm. And so we did, and that we started out doing that. And the stake president said they wanted another phase on their build on another phase to their building. And he said, if you have 100 people here coming out by July 1st, well, you can build on another phase to your building. So the elders and us, there were about 50 or 60 there when we started. We came in December, and by July we had 101 people out.
Right.
So they got to build on the phase of the building.
Uh-huh.
And they were good people. They kept active all the time, And they started, we left there in November of 1980, and they had started building in August, starting breaking the ground for the second building before we left.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's exciting. Did you have any neat experiences on your mission?
Yeah, and we proselyted quite a bit. With my turn, Daddy and I took turns knocking at the door, and one lady came to the door. It was my turn to knock. She came to the door, and I said, "We're brother and sister Frankman from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We have a message for you about Jesus Christ. Would you like to, can we come in and tell you the message, show you the picture, and tell you the message about Jesus Christ?" "Well," she says, "I'm chorister for the Baptist church down here in Zion." I said, "Well, how nice that she can be chorister, you know." And she says, "We believe different than you do." And I says, "How do you believe different than we do?" Because I always thought the Baptists believe in Christ too. "Well," she says, "we believe in Christ." And I said, "Well, so do we." I said that our church is named after Jesus Christ. And boy, she slammed the door in my face. I wasn't near as snotty as she was. She was real mad at when I said, "Well, we do too." I said, but I guess a lot of them think that we believe in Joseph Smith, you know. A lot of them do down there in Kentucky. They're kind of ignorant.
Yeah. Did you have any other experiences?
And that some of the Catholic sisters, we knocked on two Catholic when we were proselyting sisters' homes, and they said they sure admired us for going out. They said they wished the Catholic Church would do more proselyting like that to get more members into their church. And we felt pretty good. And we met a Methodist minister, and of course they're quite argumentative, you know. They try to convince us that we're wrong, and then there was the Church of Christ there that we met one lady, and she wanted us to come in, and they were just eating supper, and we didn't want to go in when they were eating because we couldn't talk, you know. And we didn't go back there, but she was, "Come in," she says, "I'd like to talk to you about your church." And she told us this, they belonged to the Church of Christ. And that was quite prevalent. And about that time we were going home. We didn't have time to go back to her house. And then we, are you uneasy about something?
No, I was just stretching out.
And we went to some partner member families, and we met Gail and Tom Robard. They were a real nice couple. Gail was a real pretty young girl. She had a baby, a little girl, 3 years old, and she'd come to our house and stayed there because she'd been on drugs. In fact, Tom married her and got her out of a lot of drugs, and she was having withdrawal pains and stuff. And her little girl, her aunt took her little girl away from her because she wanted to raise that little girl. And she'd come over and lay on our couch, and we'd go out and proselyte, and she'd still be there when we went home. She didn't like to go home unless Tom was at home. He worked during the day. And I said, "Let's baptize Tom." "Oh, Daddy," says, "he doesn't read enough." Well, I said, we can read to him," I told him. So we started going there once a week and giving the discussions. And we had him over for dinner, and we go to parks with him and stuff. And they really liked us real well. So in July, he said, "Well, I think I'll be baptized." And he was afraid of water. And he wouldn't let Grandpa baptize him. He said he wasn't big enough to baptize him. He had the biggest man in the ward, in the branch, to baptize him. He was the Relief Society president's husband. He was about 6'4" or 5", you know, big husky guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was afraid he'd just leave him in the water, you know, he wouldn't pull him back up. Anyway, and then so we got credit for that baptism, and then the zone leader, we had fellowshipped another family that they had the elders had baptized. She had 11 kids, and we'd fellowshipped them when they go to picnics and things, and go to their house and talk to them and all. And so the zone leader said as long as we had fellowshipped them for been so nice to them, we could have the baptism of the 8-year-old girl. They gave us that baptism too.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you excited to come home, or were you?
Yes, we were excited to come home. We came by way of Oklahoma, we saw Opal and Faye, and Al's sister Gracie there. We stayed one night with Gracie, and we stayed one night with Opal and Faye. And then we were anxious to get back to Rexburg because Will was going to be married in the Idaho Falls Temple on the 25th of November. So we had to stay in Salt Lake for 2 days because they didn't like us to drive on Sunday. So we stayed there Saturday and Sunday, the dirtiest motel I've ever slept in. See, they do a lot of skiing there in Salt Lake, and I imagine the skiers, and they hadn't cleaned the motel after the skiers had been there. The floor was all dusty and dirty, and I had to wipe up the toilet before I could even sit on it. And, we complained about it, but they didn't send anyone in until the next morning. And we had cleaned it up. I'd even, taken Kleenexes and cleaned the floor so we didn't have to step in that dust and dirt.
Yeah.
And then on Monday morning, Lorraine wanted us to get us some books at where's the place you get those books?
The bookstore, the church bookstore. Do you have
No,
books? The 70s bookstore.
No, it's Al. Where do you send for those books in Salt Lake?
Deseret Distribution Center.
Yeah, distribution center. And she wanted to get a couple of books there. And we called Sunday night, and he says, well, we've got a distribution center right here in Rexburg. He says, why don't you, instead of staying for a couple hours until they're open, why don't you come on home and we can get it for you here. So we got it in Rexburg for her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we got started 2 hours earlier so we could make it in one day.
Yeah, so did you see Will and Trish get married then?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We stayed there, it was a couple of days with Son and Kathleen, and she was having an awful time trying to get a cake made for Barbara was having an awful time trying to get a cake made for Trish, and I said, well, I'll make the cake I'll pay for the cake if you get someone to make it. And so they got a school teacher at school, and it was the driest cake I've ever eaten, spice cake, dry. I can still remember eating that thing. But she must have made a layer at a time, probably kept it around for 2 or 3 days before she got the other layer made, and anyway, it was an awful cake. I had to pay $30 for it. Should have got a pretty good cake for that.
Yeah. Well, now after you came home from your mission, was Kim born when you were on your mission, or was
Who?
Kimberly? Were there any?
Yeah, she was only 3 months old when we left on our mission, and she was walking when we got back. We left on October the 26th in 1979. We got back in December of 1st December 1980.
So you had a good time, huh?
We had a real nice time. In fact, when I got home, I thought, oh, I'd like to go back and do some more missionary work. But they had come out in the church news that they didn't want older couples out that were 70 or 80. They thought that they were too old. There were a lot of older couples that had gallbladder trouble and open heart surgery and stuff that the church had to pay for while they were over there in the MTC.
Yeah.
On a mission.
So would you recommend to your kids and grandkids when they get older to go on a mission?
You bet. It's something that you'll never regret going.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, you had Aunt Mako come live with you for a while.
Yeah. Well, that's another story. Mako was, Lester called me one night and he says, well, Mako's in the hospital. Oh, is it? I said, what's happened? Oh, she's burned herself. She hurt herself. I said, how did she hurt herself? Oh, she sat on her stove and got a big burn. And so the next day we went to the hospital to see her, and she was running around, They had her tied up, but she'd untie the belts, and she was kind of, she had Alzheimer's a little bit, I think. And we went, I can't remember how long she was in the hospital because we went 2 or 3 times to see her. And then Lester called up, well, tomorrow we're going to put Mako in a rest home, and you can't do a thing about it, he says. And I says, well, Al won't like that. I said, he doesn't want her in a rest home. But you can't do a thing about it, he said. So I told Al, and Al goes, you just see what I can do about her and the rest of them. So we called your mother up, and she went down and told him, and Al told him too, don't put her in a rest home until I get down there. They had the bus already to take her to the rest home in Bellevue. They were before, and he said, don't take her to rest home before I get down there. I'm her brother. He says, I have guardianship over her. See, Wanda had power of attorney, but guardianship means more, than power of attorney does. So they said, okay, they'd wait, but the bus was sitting there, and your mother and Daddy went down, and so they talked me into taking Mako in. I had arthritis so bad, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but all of a sudden my arthritis got better, and I did it just fine. Mm-hmm. And she was here about 10 or 11 months, and then she died of a stroke in the dining room. She had just we had eaten lunch, and I was a little bit late because I had done a big washing that morning, and Al had an appointment with Mr. Slate to get his income tax taken care of. And he said, don't tell Mako where I'm going, because she would want to, every time he got his hat on, she wanted to go with him. And so I didn't tell her, and pretty soon she missed him. And she says, where's Al? I said, oh, we went out to see a man, and she thought I said he went out to get the mail. And she was still eating her soup. We had split pea soup and bread, and she liked mayonnaise and butter. She ate a lot of butter and bread on her, mayonnaise on her bread.
Mm-hmm.
And just as she reached over for a hunk of butter, I think we had tuna fish sandwiches. Yeah, we had tuna fish sandwiches. We made our own at the table. She reached over, got a hunk of butter and stuck it in her mouth, a big hunk of butter, and stuck it in her mouth off of her knife. And all of a sudden, she turned just as red. Her hands and face turned just as red. I've never seen hands so red. And I said, Mako, what's the matter? And she went back in her chair. Mako, I said, speak to me. And she didn't speak, and I thought, well, she's had a stroke. So I called 911. First, I went in the bedroom to see if I could find Al's number where he was at Mr. Slate's office. But I couldn't find it, so I called 911 and told him what had happened. And the operator said, have you taken CPR? Yes, I said, I have, but I can't remember much about it. Took it a long time ago. When the Smiths were here, living here, we went up to the fire department, took CPR, Al and I did with them. And well, she says, hang on to the phone and I'll put you through the how to do it. And so she did, but she was unconscious. She never regained conscious again. So I think she must have had they said she had a clot in her brain. That's what my mother had too. And so they later, when they came then, they were here about 3 minutes after I called them, and before Daddy even got here. And they laid her on the floor, and he says, we're going to pump her stomach. Is it all right to pump it right here? I said, yeah, go ahead. And of course, I was in tears, scaring me. And then about that time, Al came home, and they said, we can't do anything. They pumped her stomach. They thought maybe she had something in her throat, I guess, or something. I said, she just got through eating lunch, and I told him what had happened. And anyway, it was kind of a sad thing. And they took her to the hospital. We followed them to the Highland Hospital. And when we got there, the doctor told us it was just a heart attack, or the attendant, whoever it was. And so we thought, well, heart attack, she might pull through. And they said they had her through they were getting her treatment then for coming her out of the heart attack. And then we went back that night, and the doctor came and talked to us, and he said, well, she had a stroke. She's got a blood clot in her brain. He said, would you like to take me to the other hospital, the Valley General Hospital, and operate on it? And we decided, we said, will she be all right if you operate? No, she'll probably just be a vegetable. I said, we'll make her with them like that. She was 89,
I had you mention that story because I think it's such a Christian service when you weren't feeling well that you would have her come into your home and take care of her.
But it seemed like my arthritis got better all of a sudden. Dr. Dixon had given me Clinrol about that a week before that, and I felt much, much better. In fact, I was out at the mailbox when Janine Sumter and Beth Wakefield come by, and I told them about it, because I'd told Janine about it before, about Michael being in the hospital. And Beth says, well, you won't be able to take care of her, will you? And I said, well, if I feel as good today as I do from now on, I'll be able to take care of her. But I says, if I felt bad like I did before, I wouldn't be able to. But I felt good all the time while I was taking care of her. And Mako had a great big sore on her right buttocks. Great big. It was a third-degree burn, the doctor told us. Great big. It was about that big. And it hadn't healed yet, so we had to keep putting medication and everything on it to get it to heal. In about 2 or 3 months, it was healed up.
Right. And then tell me about your patriarchal blessing.
Well, I can't remember too much about it. It just says I'm going to be a sucker to a lot of people under my table. feed under my table. And I've fed a lot of people under my table. No, their feet have been under the table. And the children were, the girls were home. Well, we always had the missionaries over and their friends and stuff. And when Bruce came in, I was going to tell you about that, came in and sat down on the floor. If anybody else that the girls were going with sat on the floor, well, they're going to marry, because Barbara married Bruce. And if they sat on the floor, then the girls would marry them. If they didn't sit on the floor, why, they didn't marry him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that true? All the guys who sat on the floor?
Yeah, every one of them sat on the floor when they came to take the girls out.
So that was the test, huh?
Yeah, it was a test.
Yeah.
Even Irwin sat on the floor.
Oh, well, that's neat. So you had a lot of people come and stay with you. You had Uncle O.R.
Yeah,
when he was...
Curtis lived here 2 years while he was teaching school in Foster. And I started out having little girls. I noticed we went through that book there when Carol was just about a year old. Why, this friend of ours, let's see, her name was, what was her name? Elma Evans. She and her husband were getting a divorce, and she had to go to work. And so she asked me if I would keep Melody. Melody was her daughter's name. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I will for a while. But I didn't keep her very long because Melody would bite Carol. They're just the same age, just 6 months difference in their ages. Melody was older than Carol, and she'd bite Carol, and Carol would scratch her. So every time Elma came to pick him up, she'd pick her up once a week, and Carol had bites all over her arms, and Melanie had scratches all over her face and arms. So, so I didn't keep her very long. I thought, well, it's too much bother to try to keep them separated all the time.
Yeah. Now, when you're talking about feeding at your table, didn't you guys used to say a little Swedish prayer?
Yeah, we did.
How did that go?
Jesu namn till bords vi går, välsigna Gud den mat vi får. Amen.
What does that mean?
Yeah. In Jesus' name, to the table we go. Bless this food. Amen.
That's a nice prayer. Do you know any other Swedish?
I did when I went to bed at night. Mama taught us this prayer to say before we'd had family prayer down in the kitchen. As we grew older, we had more family prayer in the kitchen, And let's see, I can't remember how it goes. Se till mig som liten watch mig vad där. I can't remember the rest of it.
Uh-huh.
It said, God, dear God, watch me as little as I am, and take me through the night. Amen.
It's a nice prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you used to have a little poem you used to recite to your kids about a little girl who said she loved Mother best, or the kids who'd sing?
I can't remember. It was a story in the first grade. I read when I was in the first grade. I just was fascinated with stories. And this little girl, oh, I love you, Mother, said little Nell. And off she went to play. But the other girl, never tell her mother she loved her, but she'd stay and do her housework for her, help her with the house. But little Nell never did. I know it was a big, long story, and I can't remember too much about it.
So the moral of the story is...
The one who loved her the most was the one who helped her.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a cute story.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Aunt Carol having you tell us that one.
Did you?
Yeah. I love you, Mother.
Yeah. I can't remember that.
Yeah. You've read a lot and done a lot in your life.
Yeah, I've been a busy woman.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm. And Fritz stayed here for a month when he broke his hip.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Was that after his wife died? Or?
Yeah, it was after Mildred passed away. They wanted, I think $200 a week or something in the rest home. And I told him, well, Fritz, if you don't mind how we live, you're welcome to come and stay with us. So he stayed with us. He gave us that dining room table and chairs for that.
Oh, that was nice of him.
I had asked him, even before, after Mildred died, I said, if you ever want to sell your dining room table, Fritz, I'd sure like to buy it because it's a Duncan Fife. It's a nice, sturdy table. He says, okay, I'll think about that. And then he told us he'd take $250 for it, I think, or $200, I think he told us. Okay, I'll buy it from you, Fritz. And when we went to pay him, why, he says, oh, I'll just give it to you for keeping me over there. So that was nice of him.
That was really nice, yeah. And you just had it reupholstered.
Yeah,
It looked beautiful.
Yeah, I like it real well. It's sturdy. The chairs are so sturdy and nice.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice. Well, is there anything else you want to?
No, I can't think of anything.
How about a message?
Message? Well, who am I speaking to?
Everybody in the family who's going to...
Well, children, live a good life and trust in the Lord, and you'll always be taken care of. I was just reading the Book of Mormon last night, that if we trust in the adversary, he'll take everything away from us, even our testimonies. But if you trust in the Lord and pray to Him night and morning, and be faithful in your church work and all, why, the Lord will take care of you no matter what comes. Even if there's a depression, He'll take care of you, because He has taken care of us all of our lives.
Did you want to bear your testimony?
Well, I certainly have a vivid testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's the Lord has always taken care of us and answered many, many prayers. And some of the prayers we probably didn't even deserve that He answered for us. But we're sure lucky to belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Blow a kiss. Blow a kiss.
Hugs.
Oh, good. Hugs.
Hugs.
Got lots of hugs.